All right, beautiful, beautiful. Tapos na itong meeting between President Marcos Jr. and Donald Trump, the first between any ASEAN leader and the second Trump presidency. So in itself, very symbolic and important yan. But of course, the timing was also a big issue because nag-negotiate tayo ng new trade agreement with the United States, which as we speak seems to have been already done and dusted. Nevertheless, the overall reactions dun sa meeting have been mixed, especially if we're talking about people who are politically interested or have certain political persuasions. Of course, critics were very quick to point out that the president seemed a little bit too diffident, if not docile. Critics said that kamusta naman, sana na zoom na lang yan kung 1% lang discount makakuha natin. But the picture is actually much more complicated than that. I mean, first of all, I think President Marcos Jr., yes, I wanted more fireworks. I wanted more assertiveness, hindi naman Zelensky level. But as we saw with some other leaders, whether South Africa or some Middle Eastern leaders, you can be actually assertive and yet polite and not, trigger certain points when it comes to Trump. I didn't see that with President Marcos Jr., but at the same time, he was very safe and very sound in terms of the responses he gave on some critical and very sensitive questions, how to balance between US and China. Sabi niya, there's nothing to balance there. We are here to protect the interests of the country. Questions about, hosting American weapon system. He was very clear that this was not about provoking China. China is already provoking the Philippines by bullying the Philippines in the South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. So I think if you transcribe his answers, they're very sound and safe, I would say. So nothing spectacular, but I think everything was more or less according to the script. At least siguro yun yung pinag-usapan nila. Nothing crazy, less talk, fewer mistakes. Having said that, 1% was, I think, too low. Bringing down to 70%, which was the original number, would have been more acceptable. With Japan, bring it down all the way to 15%. I think that could put things in a much starker light for the Philippines, why we're not able to get that. And considering the Philippines has been offering the United States all of these facilities, basing access and all, I'm sure a lot of people are expecting more. Now, let's just get the facts clear. First of all, the tariff rates on the Philippines are actually among the lowest among all major economies. Even if you look at the final discounted rate, as you can see there in the graph. So actually, I think Philippines and Indonesia are more or less the least tariffed one, right now. And originally it was Philippines and Singapore doon sa initial, wave of tariffs that the president of the United States imposed. So having said that, the tariff rates themselves are not as devastating as big if you put it into a bigger context. But then again,